Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Um,
Morning.
I would like it very much if everyone who has a camera can put your camera on so we can have a more genuine classroom experience. And, yesterday we discovered that, some people, when the mic was on, there was a lot of feedback. Other people were able to keep their mic on without any problem. So, you're welcome to try. One thing I have to say yesterday, I want to thank you all for was uh, that you participated, which I really appreciate. A lot of people get very shy in the Zoom classes and, don't participate. So it winds up me being talking for 2 straight hours, which is hard to bear. So, let me tell you what's going to happen today. So it's only the second day, and there were a couple of issues, getting things off the ground, which is not unusual. I mean, even in a regular year, there's often first day issues or even first week issues sometimes in a classroom. So some people either didn't read their email or didn't receive the email that I sent out to everyone that helped you arrive here where you are now. But I just want to say, so I'm going to be doing some review, but I do want to say something else. Even in a regular semester, a good teacher should do a lot of review on the second day. There's often registration issues and all kinds of reasons why students don't always make the first day. Though since most of you did, can I just throw in something? Continue for the rest of your life showing up first day. I mean, you always have the advantage when you're there at the beginning of any venture. People automatically respect it when someone's there at the outset of any undertaking. Even a sports event, that bonding in the locker room before everybody comes out on the field is important. Somebody shows up, they're like, at the last minute, just runs out. They don't have that same connection. And while we're not a team in that sense, success always follows a set of rules. Doesn't matter what you point those rules at. One of them is be there and be early. So about the review today, I'm going to do it much quicker than I did yesterday. So if anybody did miss yesterday's class, I'm going to do just that light review to get us all on the same page. I'm most anxious to start working together today, and this class is going to be mostly like that. It's a hands-on class. So you over there on your end and me over here, I'll be demonstrating, talking through. Now everybody try this. Yes, Andy.
Yes, Andy.
Sorry.
That's all right. But again, if feel free to join as you see fit. But that's the way it's mostly going to go. So I'm not going to do long lectures often. Today I do have to do some catch up. So I'm going to use screen sharing constantly. And at some point, almost everyone in here is going to need to screen share. Sometimes something's not working and you're going to want to show me. So when you click the green share screen button at the bottom, you're going to be presented with options. The one you want to choose is desktop. This way you could show me whatever you want to show me when your time comes. Right now, let me get started. And I want to go over basics. So if anybody was not here yesterday, I want to say two really positive things for you. One, I am reviewing a bunch live right now. Two, every class is going to be videoed. So, unless something goes wrong, I'm habitually a classroom teacher, right? So I've been forced into the remote world, just like you guys have. But yesterday's class, for example, is already online. And I want to show everybody where you'll get all the classes going forward. So let me share the screen. And again, if you weren't here yesterday, pay double attention. And I want to show you a couple quick things. So first off, let me start at the ground. You can't succeed in my class without this web address. So I really want to be really, really clear about that. I hope you could see it up here easily. So that's iraworks.com/BMCC. So I want to be clear. I'm only going to use Blackboard for two purposes. I'm going to put grades up on Blackboard, and I'm going to put alerts up on Blackboard. So when I put an alert up, it also sends an email directly to you. So most of you have gotten one alert from me last Friday. and you were ahead of the game. Why a few people didn't get it, I really don't know. But Blackboard is just for alerts, where they'll post my alert, but that same alert goes directly to your email. So as long as you're checking your email, you won't miss anything. Going forward, you have to check your email. Also your grades when they start going up. Most of the time you need this address. So you'll know about Blackboard. This one's new. iraworks.com/BMCC. Take a peek with me for a second. Here's the syllabus, which is all the stuff I said yesterday put in a far more boring way. So if anyone really wants to look at the syllabus, you can do it. I got to tell you, it's not as interesting as these. The class handouts always look the same. Class 1, Tuesday with yesterday's date. Now it's class 2, Wednesday with today's date. By the end of this class, there's going to be 23 of those. So you'll see class 23, July 2nd. That's the last date, by the way. You'll notice there's other things that show up though. So let's ignore the syllabus for a minute. Here's the yesterday's handout. So if anyone wanted to look at it at any point, they can come here and look at it. I want to show you something a little bit more interesting though. This says class 1 video. So let me click that. Now, what that actually does, give me 1 second. Yes, ma'am. It's in your office, your new office. Yeah. Life at home. Joe Biden was giving an interview to Colbert yesterday when he got a phone call from his daughter. And he took it right in the middle of the phone call, which I utterly loved. You know, he said, "Oh, I always answer my daughter's phone calls." I thought, that's cool. I would do that. Anyway, that was my wife. All right. So anyway, here we are, we're on YouTube. And I want to point out that, for one, your teacher didn't make the world's best video yesterday because I really didn't realize your faces were going to be showing up all the time and often in the smack middle. But yesterday was not, it was more lecture oriented anyway. But I would definitely watch it if you missed yesterday's class later on today. Those of you who were here yesterday, there's no need to watch it. So do you notice this right up here? I have this sorted. These are older from last semester, and the only reason I'm leaving these up because I think they might prove useful to us later. So I'm not really sure I'm going to leave these. So you just look for the number and the date. Is that clear for everybody?
Yeah.
So those links are going to be on my homepage. They're going to be repeated on the handout. You might just say the favorites because it's the MMP 100 playlist where you'll be able to watch whatever you need. I think this should work fairly well. All right. So again, I invite anyone who missed yesterday to please watch that. All right, let me go back to where I was. So this is yesterday. Let's go to today. Now, today's including a bunch of reviews, so I don't think anyone has to get caught up. I do want to say one thing in the meantime for anyone who wants to multitask. Can you show me? Now, look, if you don't have your camera on, right, you may want to just chat me quickly. So at the very bottom, if you bring your mouse down to the bottom, hopefully you find the chat button or 3 dots that say more. And somebody's already chatted me. I just need to interject something. I apologize for bouncing around so much. I'm not the best yet at lecturing, demonstrating, and reading chats. You know, so I apologize if you need to chat me because your mic is off. I will keep looking, but it may take, I may forget for a number of minutes, right? So if you really need my attention, turn on your mic. If your mic doesn't work, let me know. If your camera doesn't work, I understand. Some people have computers without cameras, your cameras don't work, but if at all possible, put it on. Because sometimes I need interaction from all of you. So I want you to do this. You know, by the way, there is at the bottom, maybe one of you guys know how to do it. Is it, one of these is, you could use emojis. I don't know, if anyone bumps into it, get my attention, because maybe we could use for people whose mics aren't working, they can give me thumbs up emojis. All right, those of you, I could see that. Thanks, Rand. How'd you do that? You could chat me if you need to let me know. Reaction, let's see. How come I don't see that? Do teachers not get it? A bunch of people are finding it. Where should I look? Somebody help me. You got to teach me now.
It's near share screen and chat at the bottom.
I think so.
Okay.
Next
So
to
it's funny how I have a very different bar than you guys. Even chat's not down there. So I'm going to have to look that up, see why that's happening. All right, that's okay. I'm talking anyway. You guys will need it. I want to ask you a question. How many of you guys already got Sublime Text?
I have it.
Got it.
Great. So what I want to
Mhm.
point out to everybody is this class is going to move quickly. You're going to enjoy it best when we're making stuff, and we're going to make a lot of stuff together, right? So if I say one day we need this software by tomorrow, we really need it by tomorrow. And if you can't get it, it doesn't mean you're out of the game, because I'm videoing the class. You might have to try it again later. You might have to try to get that software again later, right? So that's going to take some effort. I know some of you just made it. I got a couple of emails like from 20 minutes ago of I can't find your class on Blackboard. I honestly don't know what caused that, why anyone couldn't find my class on Blackboard, but I have to talk to the school. I'm sure it's on the school's end. Why you didn't get my email, that's a bigger question, right? You're going to need to stay in touch with me, and I'm going to be sending these group emails again. So if you didn't have time to get Sublime Text, here are your choices, right? You could bravely multitask, open up another tab in your browser and search free Sublime Text, right? And load it now while I talk. Especially if you were here yesterday, you heard a lot of this before. But if not, try to listen, get Sublime Text. If that feels overwhelming, look, we're not in real time completely anyway. You could try it later. I just want to point out, the next few days, we're going to be using Sublime Text every day. Some of you guys are going to fall in love with writing code. All it is an environment where we get to write code, right? A couple of you mentioned to me that you didn't have computers yet, and I did write to the head of the department to try to get computers on loan, which I've not heard back from them yet. So I'm a little shocked because they always answer me immediately. Maybe they were busy looking. So as soon as I know anything, I'm going to reach out to people on my list. If you're here for the first time, right, I don't know as a fact that you have a computer. You could be on your phone. I had at least one person yesterday do this on the phone. You will need a computer. And I apologize for repeating myself, guys. Remember, it is class 2. If you want a computer loan, you have to do 2 things. You have to take the survey that's linked on the handout. We're going to look at that in a minute. And you have to send me an email. If you don't send me that email today and you didn't send it to me yesterday, there's not going to be enough time for me to get that computer. I can't even promise it, right? But the school looks pretty positive about being able to do that. The numbers are small, so it looks like I can get it. Last, I'm sorry to keep going over this, but also right now you could chat me and I'll write your name down physically and I'll reach out to the head of department. I don't want to keep sending loose names. I want to send a list at once. I sent one yesterday. I'm going to send another one today, and then we'll see. So let me repeat the most urgent thing, I guess, moving forward. The only computers that could use all the software we're using are Macintosh, Apple computers, I'm saying, and Windows computers. Whether it's a Surface, a laptop, a desktop, that kind of model doesn't really matter. But it really does need to run the 2 popular operating systems. So that means Chromebook isn't really a computer. It's more like a tablet. They're really cool, but you can't load software on them. So the Chromebooks, the school gave away are great for other classes, but not for this one. So as I said, if you don't have a proper computer, take action immediately, right? Either let me know today or send me the chat today. Do fill out the form. All right, I got to move forward. So again, if you're stuck, if you're like bravely taking my class, we're not even sure we can get that machine for you, thumbs up to you. You know, seriously, from learning courage. Learning takes courage. Watch closely. Take a lot of notes. Take a lot of notes. All right, I'm going to move forward.
Professor,
Yes.
I'm Faik. Good morning.
Good morning, Faik.
I just have one question. For example, if I can I go to college for just to do like my work if I want to, or it will be closed like completely?
Can you work at the labs, you're saying, at school?
Yeah.
the labs have been closed for quite a while now, but your question is relevant again because with the country slowly opening up,
Mhm.
the labs may open up soon. Hey, I'll be the first to know, and I will definitely let you know. That does change everything, by the way,
Okay.
if the labs
Okay.
open up. I mean, what I expect the school to do at some point is open them up with half capacity. Where you sit every third computer, that type of thing, and you
Mhm.
have to wear a mask and all of that.
Yeah.
But right now there's no word. Guys, listen, the elephant in the room, I don't know how closely you guys read the news, how close. Some of you guys are probably really into it. Some of you prefer to ignore it. And I'm not here to force the news on anyone. But I would say, like, New York, as you know, we got hit worse than anywhere, period, in planet Earth. This country got hit harder than any other country, and this was the hardest hit state. But the good news is, man, are we in much better shape. I mean, the accountants, the people being admitted into hospitals each day is 20% of how many people were being admitted each day 1 month ago. 20%. Now, it's still a damn lot of people, and we still have to take care. But wow, what we did worked, and if we keep doing it, we could get that 20 down to like 5%, 1%, down to 0. But if we start wasting our time now by doing like you see on the news, where we're all going to go out like drinking on parties, don't fool yourself. Until you meet somebody who has dead family members, you might be able to tell yourself this is all imaginary, but I have to tell you it isn't. So don't rush. All right, I'm going to shut up about that. You hear enough about that, right? Just going to say, please wear your masks when you go out. Do whatever you can. Follow the rules. A little while longer. We've saved lives, those of us who follow the rules. The people who talk about freedom, but not about the freedom to protect their neighbor's life, some of them are going to wind up being murderers without knowing it. And that's sad. So let's get back to us. The labs are going to take a while because schools are very conservative. So listen, Faik, hang in there today. Please take a lot of notes, right? And hopefully we'll have good news for you soon. Does anybody else have any questions before I just, resume looking
Yeah,
at?
Professor, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm screen sharing. Let me get this out of the way. I want to make sure that the video is easier to see today. So look, we're going to do this every day. So at 10 o'clock, whoops, sorry, class 2. So every day you go to ironworks.com.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes. Ask, sir.
I noticed on one of the emails that were sent out that there was an alternate schedule where classes begin at 9:30.
So
and it indicated to
really? So, I have to, I really have no idea what goes on the administrative end, right? But I could tell you that the emails from me, I was going to say trump all the other ones, but I don't like that word anymore. The emails from me surpass emails from anyone else because I've been given the authority to clarify rules and concretize this class. So I do apologize that there's been confusion. I think one of the reasons that caused that was this class is traditionally in the physical classroom. And it really at the last minute, they realized that wasn't going to happen. And they changed it to the web, and then they didn't know how to do it. So I do the summer class. They asked me, are you prepared? I say, yeah, I'm completely prepared. But there was lots of different arguments about what we should do that I don't want to bore you with that really delayed a schedule. And one of the options was to not have Zoom at all. For me to sit alone and make videos for everybody and never meet you, except in office hours. And I wasn't willing to do it. And so this discussion went on for a long time. So I have the feeling that they didn't isolate the schedule until like last week, like late in the week. And then it was isolated, it was approved. So the approved schedule is, let's be crystal clear, right? Monday to Thursday, 10 to 12. So here's my private calendar, but let's borrow it for a minute, like I did yesterday. So, here we are, it's Wednesday, and tomorrow is the last day of the week. Next week's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's already June next week, right? So look how it looks. All these blue ones are us. It's just Monday to Thursday, every single week, all the way to July 2nd. No interruption, right? 10 to 12. My office hours are going to be 12 to 12:30, right? That's the deal, right? So I hope that helps. You should all be, if you're not clear yet, please take notes now. I do apologize for any confusion caused by the registrar not knowing what the arrangement is, or the head of the department working it out with me. There's been a lot of last minute changes because we've never had a pandemic in our lifetime before. But this is going to be a good class, so I'm psyched about it. I'm anxious to get some momentum together. So I don't know. I hope this helps. Let me come back here. So again, Andy, thanks for pointing that out. Others pointed out other weird things. You know, what was up on CUNY first and what wasn't up, and some people got Blackboard running and some did not, and it's what is going on. Look, if you made it here, you're good right now. Now you know what to do, right? Every day, 10 o'clock or a couple minutes before, go to iraworks.com/BMCC. Open up the handout that's clearly marked. You'll get used to this like that. It's a really neat system. Okay. I want to go over this real quickly. I'm going to do it like lightning fast. I already talked about this, right? You cannot, please don't fool yourself. You're going to need a proper computer to take this class. A proper computer meaning one that loads software. You know, most of computers are software. So that's what this class is going to require. So again, please take the tech survey, everyone, right? So how many of you guys already took it? That's not enough people, right? All right, thank you. I need everyone to take this. Folks, I don't want to do it during class. I don't want to sit here and like, take it now. You know, I asked people to take it on the email I sent and yesterday's handout. It is the third time that I'm asking. So please take it right after class if you haven't already. Enough said. This is the only way to make sure your future classes are designed in a way that's going to work for you and our community, which I hope you care about, right? Like seriously. So this is how I know if your internet connection sucks and if the computer thing's working out for you, and et cetera. You know, a little bit about Adobe, which we'll be talking more about together. All right. If you need to send me an email to request a computer, this is the format. This is the only email I'm going to be checking going forward. For a few days, I'm checking this and the BMCC email, right? But right now, I want to point out to you, this is the best way to reach me because this only belongs to us. No one else can use this. So I'm guaranteed to get your email. This is the only address that I want. Your subject line of the email should be, I need a computer loan. And then tell me whatever you want to tell me, right? And I need to take action immediately on your behalf because frankly, my class is so much fun. If you could work with me, it's a little less fun, you know, watching. You know, it's like a baking show, but it's much more fun if you're like in the kitchen and you magically have all the ingredients, you know? So here we go. The only software you need right now are these. This is free. I didn't mention this yesterday. Why did I say sort of free? Because at least once a day, it's going to ask you for money. Sublime Text lets you borrow it, students and teachers, for as long as you want, but it kind of wants a donation. So if you continue to use it, maybe you'll send them the $20. But for now, if it asks you for money, you just click cancel and it doesn't close the program. So I call it sort of free. And here's a link you can go to get it right now if you're able to do that while I talk, unless you have it already. Chrome is the browser I want you to use. Like you're probably in Chrome right now because I think about 90% of the world uses Chrome. But you may be using Firefox, you may be using Safari, and there are other programs out there. I'd like you to get Chrome. Just do a search, download Chrome. It's also free. You're gonna like it. All right. I wanna just quickly go over these three because you're gonna get these all at once. This should say Adobe Photoshop. I meant to fix that. Adobe Animate, Adobe Premiere, they're all owned by the company called Adobe. So together, they're called the Creative Cloud Suite. Creative Cloud Suite. And there's also about at least seven other programs in the suite. And you're gonna get them free for the whole summer as a gift from Adobe, who's trying to help out during this strange time. I think that's amazing. Never really liked them a lot. They make some strange business decisions, but this was truly generous. It's making our class possible. Those of you going into the arts, are all going to be friends of Adobe. You just can't avoid them, right? So if you have experience with anything Adobe, I know some of you done some Photoshop. Has anyone done any Illustrator?
I have.
Have you? Man, I love
Yes,
it.
many years ago. Many years ago.
Really, many years ago. You know, I so wish it was part of this class because I teach it actively elsewhere. I absolutely adore it. But you see, my class is packed with stuff, so I better get busy. But
I
anyway,
work a lot
yes,
of Illustrator as well as InDesign. I do a
InDesign
lot of,
too.
yeah,
You
I
use
use a lot of that.
Are you an InDesign user?
I am for work purposes.
InDesign's amazing. So for those of you who haven't heard of it, InDesign is how you lay out books and magazines and catalogs, physical ones. You know, so it's very often a company like that's going to have a website that might parallel that material. But if you like reading books and magazines, it's all in InDesign. It used to be in a program called Quark, which was killed by Adobe in business. And now InDesign's been the boss for many, many years. This is all Adobe. A subject for another day. It's not good for us that it's all Adobe. It really isn't, because they get to make all the rules now. They're literally a monopoly, which always causes trouble. They've literally bought all their competition or just destroyed them by being bigger and making, you know, parallel. In fact, Adobe Animate, which we're going to use, wasn't Adobe's. It was Macromedia's. They didn't like the competition, so they bought them. Oh well, anyway, let's move on. So I want to say something quickly and practically. This link is the link from the school about how to get into your free Adobe Creative Cloud account. And you might want to follow it before we get there. I don't think we're going to be using it till next week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday next week. But you know, if you want to get ready early, why not? So you start by getting Creative Cloud and then reading what you can about how to load the programs. And if there's issues with it, I'll be talking more about it next week. Last is Audacity. You could wait a while. This is also completely free. It's not by Adobe. So we're only using a couple things. Half the class is Adobe products and half is other stuff. Audacity works with sound, and it's very, very popular. I don't want to talk too much about this stuff because we talked about it yesterday. Again, I always do this second class, guys, so let's, you know, be patient about it. Attendance this semester is a big experiment for me. Like, I'll tell you one thing, we suddenly have 22 people. Yesterday we had 15. And even today, it's going up like one at a time. People are just showing up. So this is taking a very open mind from your teacher. And so I want to tell you what how you should look at it based on your own circumstances and what I could offer. I'm a personal teacher. I make friends in my classes, you know. I like the creative vibe that we could get going together after a while. We'll start to feel more like an agency, a creative agency sometimes than a classroom. Now, if you come on time every class, you will participate live in that kind of energy and you get to ask questions. If you can't come live, I'm making room for that this semester, right? This remote class. So you're gonna, you know, get to know me, but I won't get to know you. You know, you'll be watching videos every day. That's the ticket. The only way to do it would be to watch the video every day. You know, and you could fast forward when I'm shooting the breeze if need be, but you want to make sure very soon it's going to get very, very real, instructional. So again, if you want to come to my class, right, which is the best way to learn if you're able, you know, if you're a healthcare worker, you can't come. I get that. You know, or you have a job, you're paying bills and you're trying to do school and a job. I get that. I'm on your side. Don't worry. But if you can come, please do. Right? It will be an even richer experience. For everybody else, I admire your courage and you're going to succeed. You know, if you mean to succeed, you're going to succeed. I do want to say about coming late, though. That's a weird one. You know, I'm going to take your class, but I'm going to show up when I wake up, you know, after my shower. That sucks. You know, like this is not like a rolling, I'm not going to have a revolving door. You know what I mean? That's just wrong. You know, and then those people ask questions that are irrelevant, you know, because they miss the stuff. So here's the only rule, right? If you come on time, right? You come late now and then, you know, someone in the family really needed a hand, you know, all right, I get it. You know, don't make a habit of coming late. All right. By the way, most of you are here early. So here's to you. All right, so I just want to clarify that. I'm open, right? It's not all about grades. It's about a useful experience. It's what college is supposed to be. I want to be one of the teachers you remember, not the majority, which you're going to forget. I went to college for 10 years. I remember 6 teachers. Where was everybody else? I had 50 teachers. Anyway, this is going to be an experience. Let me move on. So again, you do your best with your circumstances, right? Just don't, try to do it in the most respectful way you can. So you must watch the videos for any class you miss. There's no longer an excuse to miss anything. Everything's reviewed on video. My office hours are between 12 and 12:30, which won't work for everybody. Some people are like, oh, can it be after 6 at night? I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could. But this, I also have a layered life. And this is the slot that I have available. But I will be checking email. So if there's no way for you to reach me because you have a schedule that doesn't match mine, let's try email first and see what we can do. Folks, this is the link to all the videos that you saw earlier. So you remember I mentioned to you that my current plan is to add all the videos on the main menu. So after each class, like this afternoon, I'm going to load the next video and I'll pop it in over here, right? On the other hand, you could get everything from the handout. For today, it mentions the videos here. Pretty soon, it's going to be way at the top of the handout. So if you click this, again, you're just going to get to the playlist, and then you look for the class you want to watch. I'm kind of psyched about that. That's definitely a major upgrade to school. I have to say it. In a weird way, even in the physical classroom now, I kind of wish we could videotape everything along the way, because sometimes you get sick. Why should you be screwed just because you got sick one day, Excuse my language there. All right. Folks, let's move into the real, oh yeah, all right. One more last thing before we go. For anyone who missed yesterday, just get a look at this. This is what we're doing. There's 6 things we're doing. So none of these is gonna last all that long. There's 23 classes. So like this thing's gonna get 2 classes. This is gonna get maybe 5. So they're each getting a different amount depending on their amount of importance. Web design here is 4 or 5 classes that we're gonna get. It's gonna overlap with Photoshop. So after that, we moved to Photoshop so that we could use photos with the code that we just learned. Today, we're starting web design in a matter of minutes. Then we're going to do some sound. And the sound gets pretty useful because after that, we go into animation, and you might want to bring sound in. And then we go into video. So this is truly multimedia, lots of media. And then lastly, a little bit of this JavaScript. JavaScript's a code language that has children. And one of the children is P5, and that's what we're going to be using to get to know a little bit about deeper code. Right now, we're starting up here with web design, so I want to start talking to you right away about that. All right, folks, the introduction is over. The content is beginning now, right? So again, if you don't, at this moment, have the proper computer, take notes, please, in your own language, right? The video is going to be up, but you can even take screenshots if you know how to do that, whatever's going to help you learn. All right, I want to show you something very cool before we move forward on the handout. Not only do I break things down in the handout that we're about to do, but this is what the code's going to look like. So once you get exposed to what all this means, you're like, oh, but I forgot it. I wish I had this or that. You do. Here's sample code that you could just copy down and play with, after we've done it together. Right? And there's even an optional project for anyone who's feeling really into it that just really wants web design bad. They could do the optional project, which will not be graded. It's just for you if you want to practice with recommended reading. So this box here is always the optional homework or the required homework, always in the box. So let me back up here because we're almost ready to start coding and making a web page. I need to say some basic things. So websites use HTML, and HTML is a coding language that's very small. And what it does is it formats the page. So when you send email, you might choose, you might even make a headline and bold it, make it big. That's formatting. Maybe you want your paragraphs to be on the right instead of the left. That's formatting. So HTML formats. Someone mentioned InDesign earlier. HTML is kind of like the InDesign of the internet. But it's a language, it's not a program. Now, here's something I need for everybody to do at home because I'm not here, I won't be at your house to check on you. Every website needs a separate folder, right? So I hope you know your way around computers. because you're going to need to make a folder every time. Here's why. If a website has 4 pages in it, they have to share a folder. If they're not in a folder, you click a link to get to the other page. It says page not found. Now you could write fancy code to help find it, but we don't want to do that. We want to keep things simple and smart. So we're going to make a folder in a few minutes, and we're going to do that every class for a little while. And now whatever websites we make along the way are going to live in their individual folders. All the pages are ended .html. And the home page is called index.html. So if you worked in Microsoft Word, you know .doc or .docx. Most of you know .jpeg, right? And we're kind of used to it. These are called extensions. This is the .html extension. Today, in minutes, you're going to learn the first 4 tags and some formatting tags. So here's a list of the 4 tags: HTML, head, title, body. Let's do this together so it has more meaning. All right? So, folks, every now and then I'm peeking at the chat just to check. All right? If you need to interrupt me, I'm not going to be looking at you for a few minutes, right? So yeah, I'm going to have to turn on your mic and shout it out, right? We'll try to make this work, right? Because the video yesterday, as I said, had too much of you guys and too little of what I was trying to show you. So I'm going to move you out of the way today. All right. Okay, I'm going to put this aside, and let me put this aside too. This is not for us. And hey, folks, can I ask you something? Are you guys seeing, does it say recording on your end?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Just want to be sure. All right. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do in that case. I need for you to make a folder. I'm going to make mine on the desktop. So you could control-click on most computers or right-click if you're on Windows. Control-click or right-click, choose new folder. All right, here's mine, just showed up here. And I'm just going to call this class 2. I think class, let me see, I think I'm going to change that. I'm going to call mine Intro to Multi. Class 2. Now you can call it whatever you want. I just want to recommend something quickly. When you're working with code, you want to avoid spaces in names. So even the folder will behave a little better if there's not spaces in the name. Soon I'm going to be compulsive about this. The folder name's kind of flexible, so I'm not going to make a big deal. Could you open your folder? So I want you to make sure you got your folder out. Let me just, my desktop needs cleaning so bad. Hang on a second there. Let me just do it my own way. You're going to need to have the folder open. So have it open however you like to do that. Keep it where you can see it. All right. Now, guys, if you have Sublime, it's time to open it. Right? If you don't have Sublime, you're going to have to watch for a little while. Maybe I could tech support if it's not working in some way right after class, right? But I don't think I'm going to be able to do that for 20 some odd individuals at once. Let's see how it goes. So find Sublime and open it. If it tells you there's a new version, you could just click the cancel button. You probably have the newest version. Mine's a little older. There's barely any difference between them. Now, yours may be a different color than mine, and that's fine if it is, right? Now, I want to ask you, can you give me either by emojis or thumbs up physically? How is this going? Did you manage to get Sublime open? Just so I have a rough idea. Oh, the vast majority. That's fantastic. So some of you guys don't have your computers yet. You know, I get it. So listen, what I do want to ask you to do, though, is try as much as possible to not get too lost. If you're ever in a situation where it's better to watch for a little while, make your best, most mature choice. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Nicole.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Mine says Sublime Merge. Is that the same app as yours?
Sublime Merge? No.
Yes.
It's
No,
called
that's-
Sublime Text.
Okay, so then I downloaded the wrong one. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you know what? I mean, you seem like you know your way around a computer. Am I right about that?
Semi.
Semi? Because you can
Yeah.
go right now if you want to. See, if you think you could do it quickly. So
Yes, I'll do it
yeah,
right now.
Sublime Text, because it's such a small program, it loads very fast. right?
Okay, no,
All right,
thank
so
you.
I want to get started in the meantime. Look, folks, I will say the code I am going to review tomorrow, right? But after that, we need like momentum before people start falling asleep and thinking the whole semester is going to be slow like this. So again, if you just arrived, you're kind of wildly late. I imagine it had something to do with correspondence not reaching you or something like that. But luckily you're here at the most important moment so far, right? The first technology. We're making websites with code. So here we go. If you're looking at Sublime with me, right, which really is it's just like Microsoft Word, it just favors code. What you want to do is start like this. Now, this is a tag, and in HTML, the language of HTML, we use tags a lot, and they usually use brackets. Good, bless you. And I'd like you to make sure that it's lowercase letters. Now, once you've written that, I want you to hit return a few times, you know, random number of times. And I want you to write this, which looks very similar, right? This is called a closing tag. This little element here means this object's closed. So what did we just do? We're going to tell the browsers out on the internet that our website is made in HTML, right? This is an HTML page. So this is the top of your page. This is the bottom. Now, an HTML page has two things in it, two main sections that are very similar to the human body in a weird way. It has a head section and a body section. Nothing can go between. Now, the head section is very small, so we're going to do it right now. I want to say a few things about the head section. The head section is mostly hidden stuff that you need to run your website. So, you know, for example, if you drive a car, some of us have no idea what's under the hood. Like I could drive, but I don't know what a transmission is. I could point out the engine, but I need those things there to run the car. So the head section's mostly hidden stuff. It's not pictures, it's not headlines, it's not music, but there's one part that isn't hidden. So let's get started and you'll see what I mean. So the next section is going to look like this. And I want you to imitate this as closely as you can. So right under the HTML tag, I wrote a head tag. And very close to it, I closed the head section. That means this head section here is inside the HTML. It's a box inside the larger box. The word we usually use is a container, though. So this container is inside the biggest one. Now, I want to show you something right away. In between these two, I know this seems weird, but you're going to get it really quickly. I want you to write this.
We have to space it the way you did in the beginning. I noticed number 3 pushed it out.
I would like you to, but you don't have to. What I did was I hit tab, the tab key.
Got it.
And you'll see later on, getting used to tabbing will make your code easier to fix later. You know what that meant? That means the title is inside the head section. So very quickly at a glance, anyone who's working with my code could find the stuff in the head section because this could wind up being 100 lines. You know, so we want ways to make it easy to get around. We're about almost ready to test this. So I want you to come down here and start the biggest section. And I want to mention something important about this one. So right after closing head, we're opening a body tag, and that's going to end right before the HTML tag ends. So I want to point something out. This is going to look the same every day of class. What's going to change the most is everything between body and close body. So if this looks like a lot, it isn't, because you're going to do the same thing over and over again. And very often, you're just going to copy and paste it anyway. We're just getting the structure down. These are the 4 tags from the handout. It said HTML, head, title, and body. What I call the 4 biggies. HTML, head, title, body. What they are is the minimum that you could possibly use to make a website. No less than this will ever work. Now, I want to do 2 things. First off, I want you to save it because I want you to see something with me. Now, guys, I want to warn you. For web designers, saving has to be done exactly right. You can't save it to the wrong folder because it'll break your website. You can't save it with the wrong name because it'll break your links. So we're going to be uptight for a little bit. So if you're looking at your page, join me by doing either File menu Save or Command S on a Mac or Control S on Windows, which is the shortcut. Or you could just do File menu Save. Now, you need to know your way around your own computer. Where did you put your folder? I put my folder on the desktop. Here I am on a Mac. So I'm going to the left sidebar here, which isn't that different than Windows. And I'm going to the desktop. And on the right, I see my messy desktop, all my messy stuff. But this is the folder I want. So on a Mac, I would double click it. Again, very much the same as Windows. You have to make sure you're finding the right folder and do not click Save Yet. We're definitely not ready. By the way,
Professor,
yes.
quick question. I saved the folder marked MMP 100.
Okay.
Can I now put this app into that folder just so I can have a quicker access to it, or should I make a separate folder or
So
leave
that's
it
a really good
independent?
question. So let me tell you what I'd recommend. I would recommend that, so we're saving pages now, right? So we're going to save this page. If we save it into that folder, the only problem is you're going to need a new folder every day. So the name of that folder might be a little confusing. So this is what I'd recommend you do. I would leave that folder alone, save into that folder today. Then when you're done, go back and change the name of the folder so that it represents today's class. By the way, you could put a folder for every class in a bigger folder to stay neat, Andy, if you want. But for right now, let's just talk about one at a time. Short answer is yes, you can save to that folder.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Now, I want to mention to anyone on a Mac that sometimes Mac save windows look like this, and you can't get around them. This downward arrow here is what you need to click so you could find out where you are. Oh yeah, I went to the desktop and I double click the folder. Okay, now here's the part that I'm really concerned with. The home page of a website always has the exact same name. So what you're doing now is the equivalent of the home page. The other pages are all named differently, but this page must be named only one way. So let's do it. It's called index, and it has to be with a lowercase I, .html. Folks, I want to point out that if you have a 100 page site, every page is going to be able to go to the home page. Every page is going to have a link that goes home. So on that 100-page website, there may be 100 home links, and they're all going to look for this. So this better be named right.
I'm sorry, Professor, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Sure.
For example, if someone saved index with a capital I, would that also break your link?
You know, I'm glad you asked because I'm fibbing a little bit to create good habits.
Okay.
If you did it with a capital I, it would probably work.
Okay.
Probably. The thing is, if you're working on a team of people, they're all used to using a lowercase I. And if they start writing with lowercase I, those links might not open the page that was saved with the uppercase I.
Okay.
See what I mean? So I want to give you the best rule that I could think of. For now, just don't use uppercase letters at all.
Okay.
When you save anything, just don't save it with uppercase letters. This way, later on, you never have to guess. How did I write that?
Okay.
You know?
No,
Good question, though. So I'm going to save it now. I want to point out that as soon as you save an HTML page, all your colors change, right? So because we're not in Microsoft Word, we're actually in one of the many free web editors. So don't think you're learning Sublime now. You're learning HTML, right? You could type English on any typewriter, right? You could type HTML on any code writer, right? So you just wrote some code, but it knows what you wrote because you saved it as .html. Your colors changed. And in the lower right, you'll notice it even says HTML. Now we need to do one more thing before we could test this. I want you to go, if in between body and close body, so on my page, I'm on line 6, I want to point out that space in there is going to get really big at some point because everything cool is going to go between body and close body. What you just did is almost the same on every website. The interesting cool stuff is going to go in here. So right now, let's test it out simply. Go one line down after the body tag and write yourself a simple sentence. Hello? Sorry. All right. And then I want you to save it again. So I want to say something about saving after you've saved it the first time. See, the first time is the only time that takes effort. You know, you make sure you write the name right, you make sure you chose the right folder, right? But once you've actually done that, I would get used to the shortcut. So on Windows, it's Control S. On Mac, it's Command S. If you saved correctly, the file menu will blink at you, and you'll see a little X up here. Don't click it, of course, that'll close it. If you saved incorrectly, this is probably a gray dot, which means it's currently, it's not current. It hasn't been saved recently. So this is correct. Now I want to show you something extra cool. You remember how earlier I asked you to leave your folder out, leave it open? I hope you did. If you didn't, find it and open it. I want to, I'm going to neaten up a little bit because oops, sorry. There we go. I'm going to make sure everybody could see what you need to be. Well, there's 3 things you need at a minimum when you're making a web page. You need your open folder, you need your code editor, Sublime, and you need your browser out also. So I've been pushing Chrome on you, right? So if you have Chrome, let's open it. If you don't, open a different browser. Whatever you use to go on the internet will work. I just prefer Chrome. So let's open Chrome. And you can tell I got a lot of clutter going on, so I'm gonna have to move stuff around quite a bit. Now what matters most, again, I just want to repeat it, is 3 things. The folder with your page in it, the code editor with your page in it, and the browser. Now about the browser, I'd like you to open up a new tab. If you got my handout out, you'll need a new tab. And I want to show you, there's 2 ways you can get to see your page. The first one I want to show you is drag and drop. That means you go to the folder, you find the page, you press and drag it, and you drop it anywhere inside of the browser. Boom. And you should be seeing 2 things. Now I just want to mention, if you're on a computer that doesn't let you drag and drop, here's the other way. You could do this one time. You can go to your page right in Sublime, control click inside of it and say open in browser. The reason I'm not going to focus on that one is, if your default browser is Safari, it's going to open there. And I'd rather it be in Chrome. So you could experiment with this on your own time.
Can you repeat how to do that one more time, Professor? Please?
Well, the method I prefer is drag and drop. Drag it from the folder and drop it in the browser. But the other method is hold down Control or right click, depending on Mac or Windows, inside of Sublime. And this menu shows up. And you choose open in browser. See, I use this a lot at home because I know that Chrome is my default browser. And maybe tomorrow we could change our defaults. Today I want to do some more exciting stuff. So if you're having issues with this method, then use the drag and drop method. So once you drag it in here, you should be seeing 2 things. One, you should be seeing your simple sentence in the browser, whatever you typed. And you should be seeing my first page up here on the tab. Now I want to point out those, yes, by all means.
So Professor, I do have a little, my icon, the save portion shows up as an Explorer.
That's not a
and
problem.
when I dragged it into Chrome, and it just shows up as the file path. C, users, Andy, desktop.
Gotcha. Did you drag it? Did you drag it right into here in Chrome? Like right into the window? Or you did?
I dragged it directly out of
Explorer.
the folder.
So I want to show you something. I'm going to open up Safari for a minute because I don't have. You're using Explorer, you said, right?
I'm using Chrome, but it's showing that it's saved as an Explorer, while the tab shows my first page. My first page doesn't show up. It just
Andy, can I ask you something? Have you screen shared before?
No, but I can.
So I'd like you to. I want you to click screen sharing. This is good for everybody. We're all going to have to get used to this anyway. So can you, toward the bottom, I'm going to turn off my share for a moment. All right. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see share screen. I'd like you to click that. Then it's going to present you 4 or 5 options. I want you to choose desktop. So, you know, at some point, everybody's going to want to do this. And whenever there's time, I will stop and look at your code with the group. The one reason why I like to do this, what's that?
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, did I? Can you do it again? I didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
So try it again.
Yeah, it still shows up as host disabled.
All right, hang on a minute. I have not, though, done that. All right, hang on a second. Let me just see if I could fool it into waking up. I am now screen sharing. I have now stopped screen sharing. You want to try one more time?
Okay, here we go. Yeah, host disabled participant. Sounds personal now. No, I'm just-
But it isn't. I have all my options set up so that you can. Give me one more second.
Professor, you have to enable it in.
Yeah, I thought I had this on to all participants. It looks like I didn't.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Was that what you were about to tell me?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Andy, you want to try it again? That hasn't happened in my class before, so I don't know why. But you should be all right now.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, so choose desktop, and I want to see Sublime first.
Sublime first.
So you click desktop, all right, and you've started screen sharing. Did you click the desktop option?
Yes.
Well, we're not seeing anything yet.
That's strange.
You sure you chose desktop?
Yeah, I'm gonna try it again.
All right. It looks like
Yeah,
we're
it says
going.
you're screen sharing.
We are now.
Share.
That's right. That's right. I'm looking at Zillow.
Oh, haha.
Yeah. So could you show me Sublime first?
Sublime is on top of Zillow, isn't it?
No. So did you choose desktop like I asked you to? Because it looks like you chose the browser. You really have to
Okay.
choose desktop. All right, now I'm looking at your desktop. Is Sublime open?
Okay. Yes, it is.
All right, I'm going to have to find a tutorial about how to do this so that anyone who needs it could watch the tutorial. It looks like you stopped screen sharing. Did you?
I'm gonna do it over. I'm
All right.
sharing.
Sorry, guys. It's again just a learning curve thing while we get the hang of it. All right.
Okay, I'm sharing it all over again.
Is Sublime in
now
the
to
front
find-
now? Because I don't see
No,
Sublime.
I think I lost it. I'll reopen it though.
Andy, if we can't get this to happen, you know, quickly, you and I are going to have to talk after class and try it again together. Because I'm still not seeing it. And if you chose desktop,
Professor?
you'd be able to show me anything.
Professor?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's telling me the internet
I
connection's
think I
unstable now.
understand.
It must be it.
Yeah, one of your colleagues has an idea. Could you, yeah, speak up, please.
So, it may have saved as an Explorer icon, but Explorer it's kind of like a default.
Yeah,
I don't really know how to describe it.
the icon doesn't matter at all. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter at all. So he's got another error.
And it's also going to say your file location in Chrome because we haven't uploaded it.
So you know what I think happened? Now that you're mentioning it that way, that's more helpful. It has nothing to do with anything. There's a mistake. He did open the page. It's showing up blank because there's a mistake. The page is opening. It's just opening blank. is what's my guess. But I can't help him because we can't get to his screen. So Andy, are you there?
I'm
Andy?
here.
So listen, I'm going to need to, we have to do this a different way. Let's go over this at the end of class, see if we could find a way to make it easier for you to screen share. But you know, right now I only have a short amount of time in a material that I need to share, right? So could you turn off your screen sharing if it's still on? And Andy, I'm going to ask you to do something differently with me then, right? It is the only thing I have for you right now, right? I want to point something out, borrowing what Jonathan was just saying. So I'm going to screen share. You do really have to choose desktop when it asks you what you want to share in the future, right? And what just happened is somebody else screen sharing also because everything just suddenly moved around. I want to point something out. Can everybody look at this? This is for everyone, and to you especially. If you look in my browser, this is the path. So it's always going to show you the path in the browser. If you're not seeing the sentence here, right, it means you made a mistake in the code. It has nothing to do with the browser. There's a mistake in the code. Now, what I want to ask everybody to check for me, right, is this.
That's what I was gonna ask, Professor.
Yes, Malik.
When I put it in the browser, it showed up with the sentence, but it also showed up with body and HTML.
Okay, so you made mistakes also. So guys, listen, let's be clear about something. We're going to have to master screen sharing. Otherwise, this is going to be deadly, right? So I've done a lot of screen sharing with students. Often someone has a hard time the first time, and the next time they're like, oh, I know what I did, right? So we're going to have to master it. And if I could find a short tutorial on it given by Zoom, I'm going to link to it maybe into tomorrow's handout. Because otherwise it's going to be impossible. See, what I do in the classroom is I walk around every time I teach anything, and I'm so used to it that I could usually find your errors in seconds. The class is designed around that. So if it takes me 15 minutes to see your code, holy cow, are we in trouble? So we're going to have to fix that. So I just want to show everybody a couple things. Malik, I'm going to ask you to look extra hard. Andy, I'm going to ask you to look extra hard, right? So I'm going to point out a few things, right? One, everybody, if yours is working, you should also be seeing this, where it says my first page. So let's go to look at the code, because I want to show everybody something, as well as anyone whose code isn't behaving. So first off, I want to remind you of something. The first thing we did was this. Now, you guys just look at this part. If these were wrong, the whole page is broken. We wrote HTML, close HTML. So you look at your top line and your bottom line and make sure they match this. The next thing we did is the head section. So I'm simplifying, right? We added these 3 lines. Now, if you left out a right side bracket, you broke your page. So anywhere you see the brackets, it's often the right side ones people forget. You're going to break the page. What else is a common error? Another common error is this. The closing tags didn't close. See, what this means is I'm done with my tab. I'm done with the title. This means I'm done with the head. So I'm going to put it all back, and I want to ask you guys who are not seeing what you should think, what you expect to see, to go line by line and compare my code to yours, since I can't see your code right now. It's just taking too long, right? If you see this, you're good. Go to the next line. Are you good? Go to the next line. One single character at a time. Then the head section's closed. Now, what I'd like for everybody to do with me is I want to show you how to make an edit, right? And then we'll see if those fellas, you know, are in better shape soon enough. But right now, I want to keep everyone interested. So let's say the title isn't going to be called My First Page, right? But it's going to be the name of a particular website. So let's say that this is called Animals of the World. So I didn't touch the tags. This is English. These white letters here, this is English. I could write it however I want. I'd like you to save again, because whenever you make a change, this little dot here goes gray. And that's reminding you that you won't be able to see that change unless you save again. So I just changed the title and I'm saving it, Command S, or File Menu Save. Now guys, if yours is in the browser, this is an important step. Every time you make a change, you save it in Sublime, then you go to the browser and you click refresh. Now to know if that worked, you look up on the tab. Did you change the tab or not? Now I want to say something quickly just about the title tag, because that's what we're really talking about right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tabs open. So man, am I glad those web designers are using the title tag. Because if you don't, people don't know where they are, right? So the title tag's really important. Plus search engines read your title tag to have an idea what the page is about. It reads other elements, but it reads the title tag for sure. So you could change it as often as you want. Now I want you to make a change to that little sentence too. So I want you to go to that simple sentence and either change it or add a little bit more. And I'd like you to save again. Now this is going to be very repeated. Make a change, save the change, and go back to the browser and click refresh. I see I made an error. So I'm going to go back to my code, save it again, go back and refresh. Now, I want to ask Andy and where were you? And somebody else was having a similar problem? I'm losing track. But I want to ask everybody else first. Did making the changes work for you?
Yes, it will work.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So
I noticed what I did wrong. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what was it, Malik? I'd like to know.
When I had at the bottom, at the end of the body and the HTML, I accidentally wrote body and HTML twice. That's why I popped
Got it. So you want to say something to all of you. That was relatively simple, right? And yet, small errors destroy it. So that's the weird part of this. It isn't going to be rocket science, but it is going to take a detailed point of view, which now is going to require tremendous independence on your part, only because of the limits of what I can do. You know, I've heard there's a way where you could allow me into your computer through Zoom, but I don't know anybody who tried it. And most of you would be too afraid to let me in. But if I ever did, I'd only touch your HTML, promise. But until then, you know, really, people are going to have to really look at the code very closely. So I should be nicer, actually, and make sure we're looking at the code most of the time. I want to take this a little further, but I do want to say one thing to Andy. Hey, Andy, are you still having that problem? Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I'm still here and I'm looking and I can't find any
errors?
Well, I just on number 4 where you wrote head, I didn't have the
slash.
So I just added that, going over it again.
Well, that would break the page. That would do it. Let's see what would happen on my end if I made the same mistake. Oops, it's asking for money there. Now mine's still working. I got lucky. That is a mistake though, so I wouldn't count on that working. Can I ask you to try something else with me? Let's forget about Chrome, right? I want to try it a different way. I'm expecting you're going to have the same problem, but I just want to see. If you hold down, are you on a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Windows. Can you right click right inside of Sublime and open the browser this way?
Yes.
Let's try that. So I'm
I have select open containing folder. Copy file path.
Are you really in Sublime? Can you click on the code? Because that doesn't sound like you're in the code. And then right click. Are you not seeing open in browser?
No. The closest I get to open is open containing folder.
No, that's not it. So you are not. And could you highlight some of your code for a minute? Because it doesn't feel like you're in the code and I'm a little suspicious. I apologize. But could you just highlight a little bit and try it again? Because it's still the same menu.
I'll highlight the code for you 1 second.
No, I mean, no, just anything. I just want to make sure that it doesn't think you're in something else. So you're telling me that when you've highlighted any amount of code and you right click, you don't see this?
No, I don't see the words in the body of the HTML, but one thing I just noticed is in the tab.
That's not what I'm asking you. Are you not seeing this menu open in browser?
No.
Can I ask you something else? In the bottom right of
Sure.
Sublime, does it say HTML?
The bottom right of Sublime.
I'm circling
Plain
it.
text.
The bottom right corner, does it? In the bottom right corner.
No,
So
it does not. It says plain text.
So you never saved this, or you saved it wrong? Could you do File menu, Save As? Right? And I want you to be sure that you name it this, .html. Index.html.
Index.html.
If you don't
Yes.
include .html, this will not work. Right? And then I want you to save it into your folder. And now try to open it in the browser. Andy, I'm going to have to move on. Let's talk at the end of class, you and I, and see if that's behaving. All right?
We have it. We have it. I think my coding is mixed up. I got to go over it because now I did reopen it and it just gave me all the coding appeared on the entire page now.
All right. So look, you just open yourself. I'd throw them out, and while I'm talking, open a new Sublime page, File menu, New, right, and copy what you see. So I'd go to that folder and I'd just throw that stuff out. And right now I'm going to have to leave it to you for a little while, okay? Because I'm going to lose people otherwise, right? Okay, folks. Guys, listen, thank you for being patient. I think what I'm going to do going forward is have a 5-minute maximum, maybe keep a timer out so I don't lose people. Did somebody else have a question?
Professor,
Yes.
I'm fine. I just want to ask you one question. In the title, if we will add any space from the beginning or in the end of where we close the title bar,
Those are good questions. Does it affect anything? You know, I would say this. Usually a space, one space you get. So it'll probably move your text over one space worth on the tab. But more than one space won't matter at all. So you can actually use one space if you want it on either end.
If we can add any space like in the body. Like,
in the body, we're going to get very busy.
Second sentence.
Gotcha. So listen, what I'm going to ask you to do now is pay close attention because you're asking me the right next questions. All right, so now we see how easy it is to get something on a web page. 1 or 2 people are having small problems, but they too, by tomorrow, they're going to be like, oh, I got it. It was something silly. And you'll see it's really this easy. So like the trick of it is now is how do we get real content on there? You know, real content. So the content is, of course, words and photos to begin with. Down the road, it's videos and animation and games and more, right? But real content begins with text. And whenever you're talking about text, words, you're also talking about formatting. So I want you to join me with this next experiment. I want you to take out the sentence and be sure not to touch this code because this is essence of web page. If you were going to play with this later today, this is the code that you want elsewhere. You could change the title as often as you want, but other than that, everything's in here. I want you to try this with me, right? So right after body, this is the first formatting tag. And what this means is a big headline. So I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to ask you to do it with me. So this is called the H1 tag, and there's 6 of them. It goes all the way to H6, but I want you to see what this looks like. So once you've done this, to see the change, save it, Command S or Control S, go back to the browser and refresh it. Now, I want to say 2 things. First off, you're going to use headlines a lot, right? And we're going to need to take a lot of action to make them beautiful, but this is how it starts. The other thing that I want to say to you is this. If you opened your page using the little menu, open in browser, don't keep doing that. Because every time you do it, you're going to be opening more and more tabs. You'll have 10 copies of the same page out. When you get the page open in the browser, only have 1 there. And to update it, save the code, refresh. Save here, refresh in the browser. It's always the same routine. Don't open up new copies. Otherwise, it's going to get very messy and you're going to get lost, right? So what you learned today is, so far, the 4 main tags. That's the skeleton of a web page, right? You just added 1 headline, right? I'm going to add to that right now, right? And what's going to happen over the next few days is we're going to add more headlines, more paragraphs, links, and photos, colors and fonts and other beautiful stuff, right? So this is where we begin. What I want to do is show you what a subhead would look like. So I worked in news for a few years, physical news, newspaper, but I also helped them out on their website. And we use headlines all over the place. So I want to show you something about how that might feel. Could you join me? And I want you to go after that headline, and I want you to see what an H6 would look like. And I just want you to notice how closing tags work. So every tag is considered a container for something. So if you say H6, you're creating a container for words, so they're going to be a certain kind of headline. But you have to close it properly so that it knows your headline is over. Then you save it, and you go back to the browser, and you refresh it. Now clearly an H6 is just about useless. I find it kind of funny, and I've never ever actually used it in my whole career. So there's 6 of them. You just saw the biggest and the smallest. I think we better change what I have on line 7. Yours doesn't have to match exactly, but I want to change that to an H2. So if you change your mind, you think that shouldn't be so tiny, make sure you change both ends. So H1 means I'm the biggest. H2 means I'm the second biggest. H3, even smaller. And when you get to H6, you saw what that looked like, right? So let's see what these two look like together and save it. I want you to come back here and refresh it. All right. Now, you know, when you do book reports, right, you might or you might not use headlines. But if you write for magazines or books or textbooks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, people use subheads all the time. Bear with me for a minute, something we'll probably do fairly soon, maybe even today, if there's time. If I did a world, Earth, animals of planet Earth, right? That's a big subject. What's the homepage gonna look like? I'm probably gonna need to break that website into a lot of pages. At least, maybe I have the big things you'd expect. You know, animals of the sky, animals of land, and animals of the ocean. Maybe animals of the underground. That'd be one way to break it down. But if I was going to do that, at least the homepage has to mention them all somehow. Then maybe the big headline would be animals of planet Earth with some text about that. And then I'd have smaller headlines that said something like those examples, or it could be birds, you know, mammals, you know, reptiles, sea creatures, you know, some simpler breakdown. So the subheads really have use. Also, Google will search those too. It's going to assume your H1's the most important thing and your H2s are a little less important. And this is how it helps you find data when you search. One of the ways it does it. All right, let's add a paragraph though, because that's what you're going to see most of. So I want to show you guys something goofy, but we're going to use it a lot. And it's a Sublime trick. Could you watch this closely before you try it? I'm writing some Latin, believe it or not. L-O-R-E-M. Now, I don't know if any of you ever heard of Lorem Ipsum, but we're going to use it a lot, and I'm going to explain it after you try it. Could you type that also? Has to be lowercase letters, L-O-R-E-M, on the next line, and then hit your tab key. Before I go further, I want to ask you, are you seeing a bunch of Latin right now like I did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So if you missed it, I'm going to do it again because we're going to use it a lot. It's just for convenience. And then I just want to talk it up a little bit. So what I did for anyone who, you know, might have gotten, you know, lost is I just wrote this on the next line, L-O-R-E-M. It won't work with a capital L. Just got to say that. Then right after that, I hit tab. Now, what in the world is that? Well, we need dummy text very often when we're practicing, when we're designing anything, but the writers are not ready. So I worked in news, as I mentioned, and we might use Lorem Ipsum because we were waiting for the article. We knew where it was going to be, so I had to start laying it out. But the article didn't arrive, so we used dummy text. You can't write gibberish. Just hit the keys like little children. You know, like, you know, if you have kids in the family, they love to do that. The reason we can't is we need capital letters at the beginning of sentences. We need periods. We need a space after the period and space in between reasonably length words, because we're going to learn how to format. Right? Hello, Ava. I'm just saying hi to Clarissa's kid because kids make us human again. Yes, we're still human. All right, anyway.
I have another question, Professor.
Yes, Andy.
I got the same thing. I got the Latin text, but it also pushed down my numbers. I noted
That's
yours, you went from 8 to 9.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Oh, no. I'm glad you asked me. Let me show you something.
Yeah, I got extra stuff too when I did that. It's like
Tell me if this helps. I'm glad you guys told me that. So if you look at mine, it's true. My whole paragraph is listed as line 8. And the only reason we care is it keeps it neat and it's easy to talk with your teacher, with colleagues when you're working on a team. You say like, oh, look, I'm having a problem on line 8. You know, so if you get random line numbers, it's a bit of a mess. So if yours looks something, is this what yours looks like? Like something like that, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, mine goes from 8. It goes
mine goes to 14. It goes from 9 to
Yeah.
14.
Okay.
I got it the same.
All right, let me tell you exactly what to do. One, the line numbers don't really matter. They won't break anything. So I just want to be honest about that. But I think a lot of you wisely want to keep it neat because it will make you happier later. You know, no one likes doing the dishes, but everyone likes having clean dishes. When it comes to code, you want clean code. Trust me, right? Clean code takes less time and it makes a happier, creative person, right? So if you're having this problem, highlight just the Latin. And I want to give you a cool trick. Command J will clean that up. Don't highlight anything else, just the Latin. Command J. Did it work? Or Control J?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so that's pretty simple.
Yes.
I want to share 2 things with you for a minute. So let's just stop for a minute because we're making good progress. And I just want to be clear about something. So I'm teaching you HTML right now. And let's say next week, Sublime goes out of business. You know, let's just say, right? And we're like, oh my God, we're all doomed. No, I'll go out get the next free software that I like. It's called Brackets. And everything you learned almost is going to be exactly the same. So what's the almost part, right? All the HTML is exactly the same. The shortcuts are different, right? So Lorem Ipsum is the world's most popular dummy text. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's built into InDesign, right? Which someone mentioned, which I believe Andy mentioned earlier, right? Mm-hmm. It's built into many, many programs. And also a lot of people just keep it around. They copy and paste. It's the #1. So listen, I want to share with you why it got so popular and what it actually means. Are you guys at all interested in what that means, the Latin?
Yeah.
It's an exorcism.
Yes.
So if anyone you know is possessed by the devil or a demon, you light incense and a circle of candles, and you stand in the middle and you recite Lorem Ipsum. No, I'm completely making that up. That's so not true. So no one panic. I got religious people very nervous. They're like, oh, wait a second. No. That's not what it means. I just like saying that. I don't know why. But here's the truth about Lorem Ipsum. This is really the truth, honest to gosh. I looked it up. It's medieval. And it is an odd article. I don't know why it ever got popular. But you know, there are groups of Christians historically, very few now, but historically that had, you know, sects particularly that believed that pleasure was really bad. You know, like the people that whip themselves and all of that, that whole kind of thing. So this is an article about why pleasure is bad from, I don't know, the Middle Ages. And I got to tell you, as an artist and as a spiritual artist, I believe pleasure is good. Pleasure is a good thing. Being addicted to pleasure might not be. You know, taking advantage of anyone might not be. Definitely isn't, right? But in general, chocolate ice cream, that's good. No one's going to tell me. Anyway, but I still use Lorem Ipsum, so let's get back to the subject. I want to say something about the Lorem Ipsum. Even if you saved it now, you know, save and go back to the browser and refresh it, you start seeing it. But I want to do a few things that are much, much better with it, right? So you could save in Sublime and refresh in the browser. It's sort of random. I want to take a little bit more control of it. So I'd like for you guys to join me in a couple things. One, I really want a lot more text than that. So could you highlight all the Latin stuff in Sublime? Now, I imagine a lot of you know Command C or Control C. That copies anything to memory in the computer. If you don't like Command C or Control C, you can go to the Edit menu and just choose Copy. What I want you to do after you've copied it, that's just copy to memory, is I want you to paste it at the end. So you'll notice the last Latin word is nostrum. I want you to go after that and paste it. And while you're there, paste it again. I'd like you to paste it twice. So you got the original, you copied it, you pasted it twice, you can save it, and when you go back and refresh, you just got a lot of text. It looks more like a paragraph. If you missed what I just said, I'm going to back up just for a second. So you highlight that text, just that Latin part alone, Command C, and then I just want you to paste it with Command V or Control V and save it. Now I want to tell you what we're about to do. If you save it and refresh, you can see that you got a lot of text, right? So that should feel good. But I want to show you how paragraphs behave, which is, you know, not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's the most necessary thing in the world. Every website is mostly paragraphs. It's mostly, really, when you think about it, that's most of the internet. So we really want to know how they behave, and it's easy anyway, right? So let's make this a proper paragraph, and then we're going to copy it. So it looks like we've got two, so we can just see how they relate to each other. So here's the first step. Let's go back into Sublime. And right before that first word, lorem, that is on my line 8, right? But if yours is on a different line, don't worry about it, that's fine. But I want you to put this tag in front of it. You're going to probably use this tag more than any other tag. That is the paragraph tag. And now that you're getting the hang of opening tags and closing tags, you could imagine that we're going to need a closing tag, and that's going to let the paragraph know where it's finished. So this has to be the beginning of your paragraph, and then I want you to find the end of it. So right now we have very different line numbers probably, but that's okay. I'm going after the very last word, and I'm going to close the P tag. So I'm just zooming in so it's easy for you to see. All the slashes are closing tags. So this says, I got one paragraph and it's finished. You know, I think if we saved and refreshed now, there'd be nothing interesting to see, really. You know, it looked like a paragraph. But let's take a peek before we move and make a second paragraph anyway, just to check. So I got the code. I'm going to ask you to save it. I want you to go back to the browser and refresh it. Okay, it doesn't look very different. Didn't think it would, but I want to show you why it matters. I need another paragraph, and I want to do it in a quick way because I want to stick with interesting things today and not as much repetition as we've been doing. So I'm going to ask you to highlight that whole paragraph you just made with the P tag and the closing P tag, copy it again, and go down a line to paste it. I'm going to do it with you. So, by the way, you could zoom in and out of Sublime. So this is Command minus on a Mac. It would be Control minus on Windows. So you'll see me zooming out sometimes. Command plus or Control plus goes the other way. So what I want right now is you to highlight the whole paragraph, including the P tag. Be sure you get its brackets. Also, the closing P tag, be sure you get its brackets. And then copy. I like Command C because I do so much copying. Or you could use the edit menu and choose copy. But then I want you to go down one line and paste. I like Command V, and I'm going to explain something about that in a moment, or Control V, or you can go to the edit menu and choose paste, because there is the shortcut. Before we go any further, you'll notice I got a paragraph ending here, and then on a new line, it's got a new paragraph that's starting. Could you save that and refresh your browser? Now, what we've got here is a real web page that's, you know, ugly, but it's real, right? So I want to congratulate you all for being web designers in one day. Yes. But you can see, like, if you enjoyed that, you get hungry right away. It's like, you know, everybody's thinking similar things. I need a photo now, or I need a better font. I hate that font. Or they don't really like white web pages, you know, or whatever, right? So we're going to hit everything I just listed over the next few classes, right? You do a little bit more today also, but I do want to point out it's kind of that easy. And even those of you who had a hard time getting started today, right? And let's say you got your software, you got, you know, you just started to pick up on what's important. Like, for example, if you hadn't named, I'm still screen sharing, right? Yes, I am. So let me just move this out of the way for a minute. If I hadn't ever named it .html, the browser wouldn't know it was a web page. That's the only way it knows. And even if this icon looks wrong, let's say it looks like a different browser, that wouldn't matter. I could still open it in Sublime and write on the code, and I could still drop it in any browser and actually look at it. The only reason I'm sticking with Chrome is so that we could all be in one thing together, you know, one set of circumstances. So I'm not troubleshooting too many, too varied of a spectrum. The other thing everybody's seeing is a critical idea is where the tags go and where they close. So can I break something down for a minute? I want to, oops, I just want to show you something. You know, the first thing you did was you made the HTML tag to tell the browser, here I am, I'm HTML. And you went to the very bottom and you closed it. That has to be in that order. So at first it was just really, really empty looking thing that looked like that. Right, that's where we started. I made an argument that there were two sections. So I just want you to watch this for a minute. Hang on a second there. I got my caps lock on by mistake. Head, and I could have done it on one line, but I knew that the title was going to take some room. So I'm trying to get you in the habit of everything that goes in the head section will get indented between head and close head. Now today we're only learning one thing that went in there, right? That was the title tag, right? Which, you know, puts a tab in the browser. Now, I know we did this before, but I just want you to see the logic of it. The head section was small. We got to forget about that really early. The only thing it had to have at a minimum was this stuff inside. But even getting that far required that you respected the brackets, respected that tags need to close in the right place. The head section's done, so it closed really early. Here I am way up top. The thing that goes on in the middle here is where it gets huge. Everything you just did was between body and closing body. So the reason I'm repeating all of this is this has to be in the right place. Nothing goes between the head section and the body section. There is no neck, right? There's just the head and the body. So all the words went in here. You got 2 headlines, you got 2 paragraphs. Soon you'll have even more went in here. But this is the essence of website. I want to mention something else before we add more today, because we have time to try one more quick, cool thing. If you back on the handout, which you don't have to look at right now, you could look with me right here. Back on the handout, we're done with all this course overview stuff, right? You know, we got busy here. Number 6, the steps. So here was just really background, really. But this is the real stuff. We made a folder first. That's about to matter a lot, because once you add a second page and a third page, you need links, right? So we haven't got there yet, but the linked pages like sharing a folder. So you made your folder first. We discovered that you had to have .html at the end, and the home page is always called this. But if you look at the next line, this makes sense to you now. HTML, head, title, body. You just have to know the order. Thing is, here's what we did next, but I just want to point out, since you know more now, this might be more helpful. I want to point out, I space these out a lot to make it easy to read, and it doesn't affect the code at all. So before I add something, which I'm about to do, you know, keep some momentum together as a group, I want to mention, a couple of years from now, if we're all web designing, We're gonna have slightly different styles of how we write code. Some people like very little space between things. Other people like more. I wanna give you a good example of what I mean. So here's the page. Do you see how there's a space between the two paragraphs?
Yes.
Now, I didn't do that though, right? Check it out. My paragraphs in the code,
They're all together.
they're back to back. And watch what happens, even if I did this crazy maneuver and saved it and refreshed, it still looks the same. So I want to tell you what that means and how that affects you. On the web, every paragraph has a space after it. See, when you first learned about paragraphs in school, the teacher taught you to indent, right? Indent the first word. So you always knew a new paragraph because the first word was indented. But websites don't do that. So today, later on, if you're on the web, notice that web designers don't do that, right? We can, but we don't, right? On the web, this is what paragraphs look like. So no matter what you do, they're gonna look like that. You notice, yes, Nicole.
It's kind of like if you had a MySpace page back in the day when you were trying to design your profile, because literally I saw that you have 2 different paragraphs, but I have 3. So I just went back into my code and saw where I closed a paragraph, deleted it, and it went back to 2 paragraphs like yours.
It is just like that because you know why? Those websites write HTML for you.
Yes.
So it's like, even if you decided like, my daughter is, she's a writer primarily, and she wants to open a magazine. She's your age. She's going to do one online. We're excited. And should dad design the website becomes the question. Or would it be better if she used Squarespace or Wix, right? You heard of these?
Dad should design
or WordPress, you know? Now, all 3 of those write code. Now, some of them will let you get into the code if you know how to do it. Like on WordPress, if you have a pro account, you're allowed to get into the code. So all the best people on WordPress also know the code. You know, I don't know if Wix or Squarespace does that yet, but I don't think they do. So that basically means if you use one of those, you're kind of locked into their design and you can't get out of it. So the bottom line is this. The first step is you learn the main formatting tags like we started today. Then, and I'm not promising tomorrow's Thursday, right? So if not tomorrow, next week, we're going to style them, because the only way to change the way they behave is to use a relative language. The cousin of HTML is called CSS. And CSS takes this ugly stuff and gives you control. So you could change the amount of space, the size of letters. Like, I like huge headlines. I want my H1 to be huge, you know? It'll be much more exciting. Colors and all of that. So we can use 2 languages that work as a team. HTML lays the page out. So it's actually called Hypertext Markup language. Hypertext means links. Markup language means layout, arrangement, but not beautiful layout, basic layout. This is a paragraph, this is not. You know, CSS comes in. That's when it gets exciting. I want to try to squeeze one more thing in. This is a little dangerous because class is almost over, but it's irresistible. So I feel like I have to try it. What if we were going to add 1 page, just make this a 2-page website? So it's going to take a little bit of concentration, but I really think we could do this right now. If you guys stay as focused as you can with me, all right? We'll repeat it tomorrow, but I do want you to see it now if possible. Let's give it a shot. I want you to go back to Sublime, and let me clean mine up because I made a mess out of it. By the way, it doesn't look any different. I save it, come back here, and I refresh it because the browser is reading my code. It's not reading the blanks. So it doesn't really care about the spaces. You know, so some people like a lot of space. So theirs looks differently than mine. I'm going to neaten mine up a little bit. This is how it looked before. So you'll notice no changes at all, right? Okay. I want you to change a couple things with me. I like the title, Animals of the World. This is the home page. So I want to change that H1 to something else. Somebody need me? No? All right. Let's change the H1 together. So, you know, not everybody even looks at the tabs. So they're definitely going to look at the headline. So I think I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to make my H1 say, Animals of the World. Then I want to make the H2 say something very general, typical of a home page, you know? And I would write from sea to sky. Now I'd like you to save that. Go back here and refresh the browser. By the way, in the real world, the writers would have sent you the text. You know, it's either in Microsoft Word or in an email. And you're just going to copy it and paste it into your code and rearrange it with your tags. Basically is how it's going to go, unless you write yourself. So let's leave the Latin for the paragraphs. That does, I want to stick with headlines, and we'll use the Lorem Ipsum for everything else. But let's say you wanted this page to link to the sky page, because you're going to have a sky page and a sea page and a ground page and whatever else, right? But today we're just going to do 2 pages, home and sky. So let's go back to that code for a minute. And what I'm imagining is I want the links way on the top against the ceiling here. So it's going to come even before the H1. So can you come to the code with me? And I want you to make a line of space over the H1. Folks, think of this body tag as the ceiling. This is the top edge of your web page. So whatever comes first is the top. So right now we made an additional space after body because I want to do this. I want to write home and I want to write sky. I'd like you to save that, just get a look at it before we move further. Save it, go to the browser and refresh it. So you can imagine these turning into links, I hope, right? We haven't learned the code yet, so we're going to do that right now. So what I'll usually do is write all the words that are going to be turned into links first, just so I could see what they look like. So I got the 2 of them. What I'd like you to do, though, is put them on 2 lines. Now, why? Well, I was just pointing out that the browser doesn't care no matter how much space you have. It's always going to look the same. So why would I ask you to put this in 2 lines instead of 1? Well, because I need code on the left of home and code on the right. I also need to do that for every link, code on the left, code on the right, and it's going to get crowded. So I'll put them on different lines. Could you join me next to home? I want you to write this. This is longer than anything we've tried, but it's also some of the most important code of the semester, surely of this part of the class. Now, this is a link, but it doesn't know where it's going. And I want to point out a couple quick things about links. But before I do, could you do the same code for sky? If we had 10 links, I'd ask you to do this 10 times. And when you get used to it, we're going to start copying and pasting it because it's always the same. So I want to point out a couple things. The tag is the A tag, and it links. This green part you're seeing on my screen, href, it may be a different color on your screen. This is the hypertext reference, which basically means go to this page, whatever I write in quotes. Now, it automatically is going to look in your folder, and this is why you made a folder. So if you're saving the pages loose all over your computer, this is never going to work. But if your page is in a folder now, the new page is also going to be in a folder pretty soon. So this means this page is really called index.html. Guys, I want to warn you, that takes some getting used to, right? The home page is always called index.html. But what's weird about it is your audience is going to call it home. In conversation, it's home. The text they click on says home, but the code knows the real name. Look, if your name was Aloysius, you might tell people to call you Al for good reason. But your documents better say Aloysius. Your passport better. This is sort of like the passport. All right, now here's the weird part. We don't have a sky page yet. And there is no automatic name for the sky page. So I'm going to call it sky.html. So we're talking about my line 6 and my line 7. Your numbers could be different. That's okay, right? I'm going to move stuff away just so you could, focus on it. Just these 2 lines. That's it. Now I want to point out, the code was the same. What went in the quotes is going to be only pages living in the folder. So this is an act of faith. I didn't make the sky page yet, but I'm going to in a minute. Before you do, could you save what you have? Save it. Go refresh the browser to see if it looks any different. Now this is what I'm predicting. you should be seeing a purple home link. In most browsers, purple means you visited it already. And even if you're on the page now, which you are, it'll typically turn purple. It doesn't mean current page, it just means you visited it. So if there's 6 pages, you only got to 4, those 4 links turn purple. The blue one means it hasn't been visited. And frankly, even if you click it, it says the file was not found because we didn't make the page yet. And those of you who are interested in looking up here, you could tell it's going to my desktop, it's going into my folder, it just can't find this page because I didn't make it. I better click the back button. So it's still blue because I never did visit the Sky page. Now, before I go the next step, with some luck, will only take minutes. How's it going so far? Your links look like links? Lorenzo, how you doing over there?
Good.
You good?
Doing okay.
Oh, good, cool. Yeah, so this is about to get much more interesting. To be very frank, the coolest thing by far about your generation and mine is linking. Because before, everything had to go in order. So the whole idea of the intuitive leap was not something you could communicate. But now we link all over the place, the way the mind actually works. So we're playing with some links right now. All right, this is what I want you to do. We're gonna make a page really quickly with Ira's ultra-fast web design formula. And my ultra-fast web design formula is borrow your own code a lot. So let me neaten my code up before I do that. This is more like what you guys have, I think. I'm saving, refreshing, just to make sure I didn't break anything, and I'm good. I want you to copy this whole page. We don't have a lot of time, and the next page is going to be very similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow our own code and then use it to make a new page. So I want you to highlight all of this. Does anybody know the shortcut to select all? If you do, can you turn on your mic, just shout it out? Select all.
Comment.
There's lots of excitement at some of your houses. Command A on a Mac is correct. Control A on Windows is correct. We're going to use it a lot. So let's go into Sublime and either use Command A. So you hold down Command and tap A. Unless you're on Windows, hold down Control and tap A. Now you already know the shortcut for, by the way, that should be here also. Is it? Yeah, select all. Selection, select all. This is one of the shortcuts that everyone memorizes, so I'm recommending Command A or Control A. All right, could you copy it to memory? We've been using Command C. You should see the edit menu blink. If Command C is disagreeable to you, or Control C, you can go to the edit menu and choose copy. Now you don't want to paste until you have a new page. So I'm going to get rid of this extra one I made. All right, let's everyone make a new blank page. You leave this page out. You notice Sublime has its own menus along the top. I want you to go to File, New File. Now, if you're not seeing the same menus, you accidentally clicked in Chrome or elsewhere, and you're seeing different menus. So you have to make sure that you're still in Sublime. And you'll see this menu, and next to it is File. File menu, New File. All I want you to do is paste. Now, you got an exact copy of your home page, and we want to keep everything except for the 2 headlines. And so could you look closely with me, because this is pushing my luck a little bit, but I think it's worth it. In Sublime, I got 2 tabs now. I got the original one, which I do not want to touch. It's finished. I got this other one that's currently untitled. And we're going to title it in a minute, but I want to make changes first. If this was a real website, I'd go to my writer's email, or I'd go to the folder, or however they delivered the text to me, and I'd get the new headlines, and I'd put them here. And I'd get the new paragraphs, and I'd put them here. But right now, we're going to work with dummy text, except for the headline.
How did you open a new tab?
What's that?
I'm sorry, how did you open up a new tab?
Are you in Sublime?
Yes, sir.
File menu, New File.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
And then just paste the code there.
No problem.
You know, by the way, every program has a file menu, right? And they all have New File in the same place. So now you know how to do it in every program, which is even better. Photoshop, Illustrator, Microsoft Word, you know, video programs. Okay, I want you to change the headline. Now remember something. We're going to have links on both pages that say home and sky. This is going to be about birds mostly. So I'm going to H1 here and I'm going to say creatures of the sky. I'm going to include bats and stuff, so I'm not saying birds just yet. The small headline, I'd like to say something a little bit less dry. You know, if I was feeling poetic, something more poetic. But I'm going to add a second headline to go with creatures of the sky. So life in the air. That sounds nice. Now, I want you to be careful when we save this page because there's only one correct name at this point. You have 2 links that are going to be on every page, and right now you have them on 2. On line 7 here of the homepage, it says, look for sky.html. The new page even has a link, sky.html, but this page is sky.html, so let's save it. Could everybody?
Question?
Yes.
When I copied and pasted, it only went to 1 line.
I'm not sure what went wrong. I would just go back and copy it again.
Yeah, I tried it like 3 times.
So let me go over that in 1 minute, okay? I'm going to come right back to it.
Okay.
This page, if you're feeling confident in it, needs to be saved. It's never been saved. So let's do File Menu, Save. And it has to be called sky.html. And I want to say 2 urgent things. It has to go to this folder or the links will not work. This is why you made a folder. 2, if the links are looking for sky.html with a lowercase s, that's why I've been pushing lowercase letters on you, please be sure you're naming it that way. This is the actual name of your child. And when you say, hey, Joe, the kid comes. But not if you call it, hey, Bill. This has got to match it. 2 pages are going to be looking for this page. You better be sure you're naming it right. So sky.html in the folder. Let me click Save. And I'm going to come back and answer that last question in a minute. I just want to show you something. If that went well, you have your first website. In the browser, I'm still looking at home, but I don't mind because I'm going to click my own Sky link. Now, they're both purple because I visited both pages. Here's my new page. I can go back home. I got a 2-page round trip. Now, if this is working,
I'm excited. It's
you're
cool.
excited. So
Yeah.
even though it pasted strangely, it's still working?
Yes, everything is still working.
All right, I want to say something to everybody. That is crazy cool. And I want to say a couple quick things, and I do want to deal with the weird pasting problem, but I just want to say this first. Let's say your real goal in life is writing. You know, so I mentioned to you, my daughter, who is a killer writer, wants to start a magazine, and she's inviting young writers. So I don't know, maybe she'll invite some of you. So I'll keep you posted if it gets off the ground. So I see some yeses. So I'll tell her that there was interest. But in the meantime, you know, she is like, I'm not sure I want photos, which is pretty interesting, given what I do. There's always photos. And she's saying, you know, literary magazines, it's kind of highbrow stuff, really. They often don't have photos. She wants the freedom to go back and forth, and that's been proving to be a problem lately. So obviously, we're going to want to do that. But let's say you were going to go all writing. You know, you're already a poet. You just can't wait to publish yourself. So you're going to make yourself a website that looks like this. Guess what? You just learned almost everything in 2 hours. You know, really. All you're going to need to know is how to get the web address and how to get it online. But for the rest of us, it isn't going to be enough. And even for most poets, it isn't going to be enough. That font feels real old school and not interesting. And there's no space, there's no margins, and again, no photos, you know, so we clearly have a lot left to do. I do want to say, though, that if anybody was really wanting to push this further after class today, you could see if you could figure out how to add a 3rd page to this website. I want to remind you, though, if you do that, you do have to fix these 2 pages to add that link. So you guys, listen, I'm going to have to end in a couple minutes, so I want to show you something at lightning speed. This is not going to be a like join me moment. I'm going to do something extra fast. I just want to make a point, right? So let me put this aside. Let's say I wanted to make another page that was ground. You know, since I have home and sky, I'm going to do, no, I'm going to do sea. C sounds like more fun. So I'm going to do C. Well, I still have this page, this last page copied, but if I wasn't sure, I'd do Command A, you know, or selection, select all, and I'd get it all, and I'd copy it again, Command C, Control C, or Edit menu, copy. Now, I have to go to the File menu every time I want a new page. New file. So I don't have to write that basic code again. I steal it from myself. And listen, I got to tell you honestly, I think everybody does this. Why would I rewrite stuff that's obvious every time, right? We're going to do it a few times, but after that, I think we're all going to copy and paste. So I've got this new page. The one thing I want to make sure is these pages must have some kind of changes. Because even if it works later, but there's no changes, I won't be able to tell. You know, if my Sky page looks the same as my C page, I'm in trouble. So at least I'm going to change the headline. So this says Animals of the World. I'm about to do a sea thing. So I'm going to do, I'm going to write Creatures of the Sea. Remember, I'm going to make a sea page right now. And I'm going to say here, from sea to sky was a weird one on that last. Oh yeah, all right, I'm going to make the sea page. Creatures of the Sea. I'm going to make my second headline say, Life under water. Now, when I save this, I want to point out there are no links to this page. It's currently going to be wildly independent, right? So I think I need to do a couple quick things, right? One, I'm going to save it. I'll save it right away. And it's going to be called sea.html. So let me save that. Now, the only problem now is my links. I do have 3 pages, but none of them have the right number of links. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the next line after the last 2 links so I can add a new one. And it's going to say C. You might remember that before that, it looked like this on the left. So we did this for each link. So this is going to get very repetitive. It's always the same. The only part that's going to change is what goes in the quotes. C.html. Now I want to tell you the only worry that I have. This page has 3 links on it. This page only has 2. This page only has 2. So here's my warning. Whenever you add a page and you make your new link, get that new link and copy it into the right place for every other page. So if this is 100 pages, I'm going to copy it 100 times. So this is my new line, Command C. Remember, it's okay to watch this. I know I could tell from people's faces that most of you are doing it with me. That's up to you. I'm going to go to Sky. I'm going to add that line because I copied and pasted because I don't like typing. And I'm going to save it. I'm going to go to Index. I'll find the right spot and I'm going to paste it. Now, if I went too fast, it's because I'm going to go over this in more detail tomorrow. But I do want to point something out. The link should be the same on every page for now. When you get to huge websites, you might have a different theory at work, you know? But for small websites, every page has the same exact links. So once I know I got one that's right, I save that page, go to the next page, make sure it's the same, save it. They all have to be saved. After that, look what I could do.
Professor?
Yes.
I just have one question. So these pages are private right now. So
That's
they
right.
will
Faik, can you give me one more minute? I'm going to answer your question in 1 minute. But first, I want
sure.
to finish this one thing. I
Sure.
saved all 3 pages. I come back and I refresh. It doesn't matter what page I'm on because they all have the same 3 links, right? So here's home, here's Sky, here's home. Notice how C is still blue because I haven't clicked it yet. And I click it. So the main point that I'm making right now is it's the same code for a basic layout over and over and over and over, right? If you're going to expand a website, you add the new link and then you make sure that that link is available from other pages because there is no order. The only order is index will come first. That's why it's your home page. Now I want to answer Faik's good question and I want to answer it in context of what we just did. When you're on the internet, you're going to get a folder on a company's computer, and the company's called a host. And you get your own web address. So say your web address is bestperson.com, right? Because you're the best person, and that's your web address. When someone goes to bestperson.com, they're actually going through the internet without knowing it to your host company, to your folder, and then you know what happens? It looks in the folder for index.html. That's how it knows where to start. That's why your homepage has to be called index.html. But once a person's looking at the homepage, we have no control of it. It's up to them. So the links are there with different names. The only required name is index.html. Now to get back to Faik's question, folks, listen, if you have another class or you gotta leave, by all means, feel free to go. I took attendance with a screenshot. Pretty soon I'm gonna be taking it out loud, I think. I have to decide about how to handle that in this remote class. But I do want to wrap this up a little bit more, so I'm going to spend a couple extra minutes. His question's a good one.
Okay.
You got to go, Nicole? All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anybody who has to go, don't feel bad about it. It was great working with you. I'll see you in the morning. For those who could stay, I just want to complete my thought. Too bad Faik left.
Thank you, Professor. I'm going to be reviewing the recording later because I got to go over this again.
Yeah, listen, Andy, you want to send me I don't know why we had so much trouble with the Zoom part. I probably could have found your errors quickly. So
no, I'm not sure if I think maybe it's I have a version 3. I see. I don't know. Even a lot of things that we did weren't coming out the same. But we'll leave that for later.
Okay, agreed.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. So I just
enjoy the day.
You too. You too. So I just want to just wrap it up. It was a little easier than you expected, I bet, for most of you. So look, and you know, you may want more of a challenge. So I want to be fair. The basics are crazy easy. Yes, they are. As long as you're an organized person. The details are not. You know, the deeper you want to get, it gets deeper and gets more challenging, and there's more and more to learn and more to do. What I love about HTML is it's satisfying early. You know, you get a lot out of it early, and then you could find out for yourself how much more you need. You know, if you're going to be a web designer, if that's a goal, you want to really do that for a living, you're going to keep going for a long while, you know, collecting a bunch of tools. I still didn't answer Faik's question because I thought he left, but he's here, so I'm going to answer. What we did today, Faik and everyone else, is called local. So when you're working on a website on your own computer, we call it a local website. And so someone hires you, you work locally, and you figure out a way to show it to them. We could talk about that another day. But when you go live, right, that's when you're done enough, everybody likes it, you're ready to upload. Now at that stage, you're going to upload it to the host company that I'd mentioned. By then you will have chosen somebody, you would have made an arrangement to pay them, say $7 a month, or your client pays them $7 a month, right? And you learn how to upload the web pages to the host. So it's going from the remote computer, yours, to theirs through the internet. Now, most of you have downloaded stuff, right? And some of you have uploaded stuff. You know, maybe you share things online or wherever. It's the same idea. And we're going to be able to cover that only a little bit this semester, but I am going to cover it a little bit because that's the exciting part. The only reason we can't cover it at length is not everyone most people will not have a web account to upload.
So, Professor,
yes.
So, I mean, the people can only access these pages when they will have the link or when they will have this file, right?
You know, I like how detailed that question is. People can only see that web page after you upload it and if they have the link. So it has to be uploaded. See, listen, no one can link to your computer, right? You don't want anybody linking to your computer. And if your website's popular and 1,000 people visit it, you definitely don't want 1,000 people linking to your computer. You need a server. So the kind of computer that serves things up are called servers. The hosting company owns the server. So they're your host. 1,000, you know, WordPress is the biggest host, but for people who write their own code, GoDaddy is probably bigger. and they tell you how to upload. After that, you get your web address, worldsbestperson.com. So yes, for right now, you cannot share these pages. If you want to, you know, you really want to share them with one person, you could send them your folder. And then they could open up the index page, drag it into the browser, and look at the same thing. So with a team, you might have to do that. You'll have to learn how to send someone a folder, right? Which I don't want to go into today, but for most of us, that
Sorry,
means zipping.
I'm sorry. I mean, my point was like, for example, if I take this website and if I could post my like essays from our English lecture and some of our pictures or something like these, and then just save it for myself. So will it be better? How it will be like?
If you could do exactly that, I love the idea. But for now, you're the only one who could see it. If you do want to share it with everybody, you know, so my best friend, he lives in China, right?
I'm just saying to keep all those things for myself. Like it will be in one page, so I can easily access them anytime. Like,
Well, remember, every website needs its own folder. Guys, can I show you something real fast? I want to give you a peek at something, just real quickly, right? And by the way, this is my office hours right now. So we're okay to 12:30, but no one has to stay. Again, you know, if you're interested, I'm going to give you a peek at something. So am I still screen sharing? Yes,
Yep.
I am. All right, let me move this out of the way. I want to show you something. So my own website is iroworks.com. And, you know, at some point I may show you a little of it. Now, the site you're getting used to is iroworks.com/BMCC. It's a mini website that hides here. And I have others, but this is my own website. And it's got a lot of pages inside here. You could see 4, but there's actually many more, right? So you go inside. So this is HTML, right? And in fact, this is a peek. So this is what my HTML looks like. Right? It's a kind of elaborate page, this particular page, right? And when I go live, if I make any changes, I want to give you a peek at what I actually do. What I'll do is I'll open myself up a folder and I'll get my website's folder. So give me a second here. So here's my website. And in my website is the HTML just like yours. So I want to show you something about that. There's my index page. And I've got pages by other names, but they're all .html. If I open any of these now in Sublime, so here's that same page in Sublime, I could make changes. You know, I can make any changes I want to the code, save it. Now the thing is, I could look at it on my computer, but no one else can until I upload it. So let's say I made some changes just now. And you would see that the date would change. Looks like I haven't changed it in a long time, right? In a year. But let's say I made some changes, right? I would have to open a program like this one, FileZilla. I'm just going to give you a quick peek. I use FileZilla to connect to my website. So this is now, I'm not on my computer anymore. These folders are on my host company on their website. Look, these are my pages. But this is my local folder. This is the one that's on the internet. You notice they have the same date. So that February I got busy. I was working on pages. If I made a change, I would go like this. I'd take the change page and I'd drop it in here. And then it's going to ask me, should I overwrite it? I'm going to say cancel right now. So this is too much for me to go into detail. I just want you to get a taste. So this is what the idea is. You work locally and you focus locally. You get what you want out of it. You get your website to look and feel and behave the way you want it. Then you choose yourself a web address. And I'll help a little bit with this stuff. I can't help as much as I'd like because it's not a web design semester. It's multimedia, you know. But I'll help a little. You get your cool web address. Then you choose a hosting company. And frankly, you whip out a credit card. So if it's $7 a month, you probably pay for the year. You know, your $84 or whatever for a year. They send you an email that tells you how to connect. This program that I connected with is free. This one's called FileZilla. And I take the information I was told to fill out from my host and I type here, here, here. They send me these 3 bits of information. When I click the blue button, I get into my hosts folder, the one on the internet. And this opened up. And at that point, I have 2 folders out, but one is in here. This is actually live. Anything I do in here. So I was starting to say, I got a friend in China, and if I make a change in Brooklyn and he goes online in China, 1 second later, he sees it. It's instant. You know, that's just mind-blowing, really, when you think about it. So for very little money, you can have a real website up where you could preach the good word about your own philosophy, or show off your poetry, your essays, whatever you like. You're a photographer, you're a multimedia artist, whatever. You know, if you ever want to check out ironworks.com, you could see what I put up. And it's my island on the internet, you know, that people visit and decide what they want, if they want anything from me or not. So that was a little tour. Really, it's not in today's handout. And let me just simplify that, and I want to wrap it up. The idea one is start simple and work locally. You have to be satisfied with working alone. If you really need to share it with one person, figure out how to email them the whole folder. And then you could tell them, just double click my index page. It'll open up in a browser for them. And then they can see it. You know, they'll get a taste. You know, you could do that if you're selling a website to someone, for example, right? But to get the full distance, we have to get happy locally first. Then we could talk more another day about how you put it on the internet. Does anybody have any questions for now? I'm cool with them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Professor.
You're welcome, Faik. I hope I didn't scare anybody with too much too soon. I'm usually very careful. Just this much today, you know, so everybody, no one's like, ah. You know, I know that feeling. I went to college. But we're not going to go that way in my classes. If you really work with me each class, you're always going to be ready for the next one. My big worries is people who are not showing up every day because it's harder to be disciplined about the video. I don't know, though. This class seems to be very on the ball, so it might not matter at all. Some people are going to be watching this later. All right, any last questions for me? Hey, are any of you guys new? Were any of you guys not here yesterday? I want to make sure you're okay. Eliana, were you here yesterday?
I wasn't here yesterday, Professor, but I think I got it.
You do? Great. So look, folks, I do hope that if you weren't here yesterday, you caught up. If you were here yesterday, I hope you didn't mind all the review. We did a lot of review. Tomorrow, I'm going to do less review. Well, to be honest, less preliminary review. I'm going to review this stuff, you know, code, and add to the code each day for a little while before we move into photos. So look, if there are no questions, again, I just let me repeat, if you don't have a computer that let you load Sublime, then you already know as a fact, you're not going to be able to load anything else, right? So Chromebook, I love Chromebooks, but they just aren't made for software. You know, it's made to use Google stuff. It's like Android. You know, it looks like a computer, but it's you know, more like a tablet. I like those. So if you don't have a computer that's running Windows or Mac, you have to let me know today. I'm pushing really hard to get a computer for you. So if no one says anything, I'm just going to assume that you all knew what you were getting into when you chose, you know, to take a remote class. No questions?
Professor, I have one question. I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Just one question, which is like, I mean, right now I don't have any computer. I mean, like I told you about it. I mean, my window crashed. So like, which one would you prefer me to buy? Like,
okay, so let me address that right away. So Faik, I wrote, as I said, I wrote my immediate director, who's also the head of the department and a web design teacher, about you specifically, and said this guy deserves a computer. Can we get him one like now? So I'm hoping he's not sick, because this guy answers any time of day. So it's weird for him to make me wait a whole day, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually saying for myself too. I mean, I'm saying for myself too.
All right. So I just want to make sure you're not buying it just for one class, you know. But if you were thinking of buying yourself a computer, then I'm willing to answer that question. You're going into network technology?
No, actually, I want to be a data scientist as a majoring. So
What? Say that again?
data scientist.
Data scientist. So I definitely think for you, you definitely want Windows and not a Mac. So listen, let me just be very honest about something. I'm from the art world. In the art world, mostly use Macs, but that's changing because Windows got so good. So I'm not really sure that it matters a hell of a lot for artists anymore, which you choose. But when it comes to data or other large-scale digital jobs, careers, I would go with Windows because 90% of the world's on Windows, you know, or at least 80. So you definitely need Windows. Now, I got to tell you, Faik, I know nothing about Windows. I'm really backwards. I have to teach every now and then in a Windows lab back at school, and I'm always needing a lot of help. I've been raised, my career is mostly Mac people. So I can't really recommend one to you, but I would say this. You don't have to spend so much to get a good computer these days. So if I were you, I'd read reviews, maybe get yourself a laptop and read reviews, see what the reviews have to say and check out how much they cost and judge by that. PCMag.com is really, they have very good reviews.
PC Mag, like MAG?
That's right.
Okay.
Because it's a magazine, but the website's also really good, PCMag.com. And I often read their reviews. When I buy a tablet or even a camera, I just happen to like their reviews and other people's reviews. And then see what fits your budget. Any Windows machine is going to be fine for this class, especially a brand new one.
Yeah, but also want to do for like, actually I'm a computer science major, so also I need for next semester too, you know. So,
and I definitely, if you knew someone who's advanced in computer science, I would ask them because they know more about your field than I do. But I would guess that any computer, a Dell or a Gateway or Acer, I don't know who's hot right now, Hewlett Packard, you know, any of these companies. So you'd have to, they're all big.
Okay, I got it.
Something, I hate it when Siri starts to talk to me out of nowhere. Is she listening on everything that I say? What do you think, Essentia? Do you think is Siri eavesdropping on us? She just started to talk out of nowhere. I'm talking with you just to say hi, really, since you've been quiet today. How are you? Essentia, okay?
I'm good. No, I fixed the problem earlier because when I pressed Control A, it didn't work. So I just right-clicked and then manually selected all of it and then pasted it. Yeah, that
are you on Windows right now?
Yeah, I'm on Windows.
Windows. So it's going to take a little effort from me since all my demos are on my Mac, but it's close enough. So listen, folks, unless anyone has any more questions, we're all going to see each other tomorrow morning at 10 anyway. We got a good start now. Now we're off the ground. My only worry is, are more people going to show up tomorrow? Because I can't keep reviewing. So I got my fingers crossed that really who we saw today is the class and we could just, you know, start sailing because it's fun. Folks, I'm going to head out. It was really nice talking to all. Jessica, I have a question for you. Have you taken a class with me before? Why do I feel like I know? No?
No, I haven't. This is my, the spring semester was my first time in BMCC. So this is technically like my
so you
second
had to
semester,
start in the middle of the weirdest semester ever.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's my first time back in school since like high school, just like 15 years ago. So I was like, this had to happen when I wanted to come back. You
know what? Like, just don't let it shake you. You know what I mean? You make it work, it's going to work. I tell you, everybody you talk to who's old defines themselves by the biggest things they had to survive. You know, you talk to an old timer, oh yeah, I was in Vietnam, or oh, I lived through World War II and my family had to run for it. Or yeah, the Spanish flu, you know, killed my aunt, you know, and everybody's formed by that. So in the end, your claim to power is how you responded to challenge. You're ready to come back to school. That's powerful. That's powerful. Most people are like, oh, I always wanted to go to college. And you're like, well, why didn't you? You know, and they have good reasons, but still, why didn't you? You know, even with the good reasons. Math is on the table. Life is better with a college degree, you know.
Yeah,
very few
definitely.
people. Yeah, very few people are going to say that's not true. So I commend you. I'm going to do my best
Thank
to
you.
make sure that this class it helps make up for a little bit of the craziness.
I am at first I was very afraid of the class, but it's very easy, clearly.
Look, I'm going to warn you, it will get more challenging. But I don't think it's going to be rocket science.
I was afraid it was going to be like on some level that I was not prepared for at all, but I think I can handle. Years ago, I went to school for graphic design, so I'm semi-familiar with this. Yeah.
You know what? I think you're probably. It's just been so long. I don't think you know how to estimate yourself. If you don't mind my saying, just the way you speak makes me kind of guess at a bunch of intelligence in there. I think you're going to be fine. That's
Thank you.
Anyway. So listen, guys. I wish I had time to say hello to everyone as individuals. I taught at a school for a while that had tiny classes. There were like 10 people. And it was so warm. I mean, it was just great. Like, we all knew about each other. We're like, hey, how are you, dog? I heard your dog got sick. Yeah, it was great, even while we were learning. So, we'll see what we can do to keep this as warm as we can. Right now, I think I'm going to head out. If anybody does need me any further, I will be checking email. My next order of business is to get this video online. That takes strangely long, but that's my next order of business. So if not, I'm going to assume everyone's okay for right now. Lorenzo, you have a question for me?
Yes,
Sure.
I have. Well, actually, it's not a question. I clicked on the survey website.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't work. It says it's not there.
Oh, really? Can you give me a minute? I'm still screen sharing. I need to see it also.
Let me see.
Let me check that out. That's not good. I didn't make that. It actually belongs to the department, but I clicked it the other day and it worked. So let me just see. Tech survey. Whoa. That's interesting. I wonder if the owner took
Yeah,
it
it says I don't have it either.
Really? Let me check.
It says it doesn't exist.
That's odd. Maybe I copied the link wrong. Yesterday's I'm going to try. Haha. So I tested it yesterday and no one complained yesterday, which makes me think it was taken offline. So I guess we have no choice but to ignore it till I figure it out. Lorenzo, thanks for telling me. I have to follow it up.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to see what I can find today. I'll let everybody know by tomorrow. All right, guys. I'm tired. I'm starting to get. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My
Bye.
pleasure. See you guys.